Just say it already.
What if it was Himiko?
Ah, fucking shitbags, both of you. Alright, well, before we jump into it, I'd like to say that, honestly, this one is a bit of a doozy. But I'm still gonna have to go through this whole thing and rearrange the evidence that we found so that we can find some more leads, and possibly figure out who the culprit is. Not to mention that, when we begin the trial, the missing person will have to arrive, so we will know who died. But because of that, however, if we know who died and who is still alive, then that contradicts something that we have found during the investigation. But I will talk about that later. First, it is once again time for Himiko Accusation Countermeasure Protection and Happiness Mission. a.k.a. This is not gonna be as easy as it was the first time I did this segment, and hell, we didn't even need the second part of in the trial. Here, however, I do feel like we're gonna need both parts, the pre-trial thoughts part and the trial refutation part. So first, let's stop for a second and ask ourselves, can we trust everything that Kibo has said to us? Can we trust Kibo when he says that he saw Himiko with a black case? Well, we will know for sure when the trial begins, and Himiko will tell us that, yes, she had the black case with her, and went to the hangar. But as of now, we don't really have anything that implicates Kibo in the murder of whoever he was under press. And he has been very trustworthy throughout this entire killing game, and very helpful, so I do believe we can trust Kibo. Not to mention that Himiko did start to act suspicious ever since Kibo brought up that he saw something peculiar last night, so there's also that. In that case, what does this all mean? Why would Himiko bring a black case with a crossbow with her to the hangar, and then leave without it? Also, let's not forget the glass of bottle we found in the bathroom. She also could have brought that with her, but we don't really know for sure. What were her intentions? To murder someone with a crossbow? Or the glass of bottle which may contain poison? I'm gonna say that no, she didn't murder anyone. Because, first off, unless an exisal was used to deactivate the alarm and the barrier, there is no way for her to get inside the hangar. And second, there is no way for Himiko to use the crossbow because she would need to assemble it first. And she cannot do that if she wasn't taught how to do it. We didn't see Shuichi teach her. It's impossible for Kaito to teach her how to assemble it given that he was in the locked bathroom. So the only one I can think of that would be able to teach her how to do it would be Maki. Which, even then, it is very questionable why Maki would want to teach her how to do it. More on that later. Also, if Himiko knew how to assemble it and use it, why leave it at a crime scene? She should have tried to bring the crossbow back to Maki's lab after committing the murder. For now, let's think about it this way. What other reasons would Himiko have for bringing the crossbow to the hangar if it isn't for murder? Well, to bring it to someone in particular. I'm having my doubts that Himiko would ever want to bring it to Kokichi. And if she was threatened to do it, then that's a whole new level of monstrosity that would grind my gears. But if Kokichi wanted the crossbow, and or the glass of bottle, he could have done it himself. He has access to the alarm system, the barrier, and the exisals, so it's not like it would be difficult for him to grab whatever he wanted himself. However, it can be that Kaito asked her to bring the crossbow. Let's think about this for a second. Maki's lab has a huge variety of weapons. Don't you think it would be a bit too much of a coincidence that Himiko would choose the crossbow for murder, out of all things? The weapon which Kaito learned how to use days ago before this all happened? Not to mention that if she were to murder someone, she would try to find a weapon that would most suit her, one that would be easy to use, and not something that requires prior knowledge to assemble it. If she were to ask somebody of how to assemble the crossbow, then some people were gonna raise their eyebrows if this was ever brought up. And I doubt that Himiko would ever want that. She would try to make this as secretive as possible if she were to murder someone or something. She could have tried to find something else in Maki's lab that can be used for distance if she needed instead. Granted, the guns in her lab are airsoft guns, so nobody can use those for anything that would involve murder, from what I'm aware of. But I'm sure she could have used something easy to use to murder. So I'm thinking of this scenario. Himiko was scouting the area around the hangar. Kaito saw her and asked her to bring him the crossbow. She gave it to him and that's what I think happened. However, you did say before that it is very questionable why Maki will want to teach Himiko how to assemble it, right? And yet, doesn't it still count as something that was possible to happen? Not to mention that Maki is acting a lot more different than before. What if we have a Maki and Himiko team-up going on? Well, you may be right in that the possibility is there. Reason why I believe this segment is a bit more difficult to discuss, because in order for it to be 100% conclusive that Himiko didn't have like any bad intentions and such, we need to talk about everything else that happened in this murder, and then piece things together so that we can say that Himiko is indeed innocent. In that case, how about we start talking about Maki? She was acting a lot more different, as you said, and she clearly must have had something to do with all this. Indeed. But first, let us remember what Kibo said about the sequence of events. So, he saw Himiko go in with the black case. He saw her exit the building. Then he went inside to try and talk to Kokichi, but to no success. Before he did that, the four exhaustos were still moving around Monokuma. It was only after Kibo attempted to talk to Kokichi that he noticed the green exhausto go in the hangar. And then he left. And keep in mind, Kibo did tell us all this, but did he say anything about the control panel?
No, he didn't.
Exactly. Which means it can be that the marks that we found on the panel could have been done after the exhausto entered and Kibo left. Though, we know that nobody can go near the panel because of the alarm system, so it can be that he didn't even notice the panel having marks when he tried to talk to Kokichi. It can be that Kibo yelled at him from a distance to try and talk to him, so we will leave it at that for now.
Huh?
I do have a theory in regards to that exhausto. We have found the electrohammer near the other exhaustos, which means somebody could have used it to destroy the electrolock on the exhausto, enter it, and use it to enter the hangar. And we do know that one hit with the hammer can make it run out of juice. And given the fact that we didn't see Maki with her hammer in the morning can tell us that she was the one that piloted the exhausto in the hangar. Now, this brings up another possibility regarding Himiko. If we're thinking of the possibility that Maki entered the hangar with the exhausto, she surely must have planned things beforehand, so it can also be possible that Maki was the one that asked Himiko to bring the crossbow to Kaito, not Kaito himself. And thus, when Maki enters the hangar to surprise Kokichi, Kaito can secretly use the crossbow that he got from Himiko to hit Kokichi while he surprised and stunned him, thus have Kaito be saved by Maki, and have a lovely night at the Love Hotel using the key that Maki stole from me. But clearly that is not what happened, and even then it is very questionable. Would Maki really need Himiko to bring the black case to Kaito? Cause really, Maki could have done it herself too, and bring the case to Kaito without having Himiko be a part of this. So it is a very questionable possibility. If I were to choose between the two, I would still go with the idea that Kaito asked Himiko, and Maki had no idea about this. And here comes the fun part. If you're saying that Maki entered the hangar, then this begs the question, what did she do once she entered? What happened inside the hangar? What happened inside the hangar? What happened inside the hangar? That is the question of the century, because on first glance, it does look like a lot of things might have happened between Kaito Kokichi and Maki inside. And I'm still gonna have to think about it. So let's go over the evidence that we have found inside the hangar. We have found out that the cable was cut near the hydraulic press, meaning that whoever did it doesn't want us to figure out who died. However, this brings up the contradiction that I mentioned before at the beginning of this discussion. The missing person has to arrive at the trial as well. So once that person arrives, we will know who died. So why the need to hide the identity of the body when we can so easily deduce it when we will do the trial? This actually reminds me of the 5th case of the first Killing game, where we had the unidentified body and we thought it was Kyoko, but then she arrives right before the trial. I mean, if we're talking about the body of a totally different student here, would that mean that both Kaito and Kokichi are missing? Would this mean that either somebody had access to the dead bodies? Or is the mastermind trying to screw with us? Either way, let's go over other pieces of evidence. We saw a hole on Kaito's sleeve with blood on it, and 2 holes on Kokichi's clothes, on the back and on the shoulder. That means that Kaito got hit with 1 arrow, and Kokichi with 2. Unless we're talking about changing clothes. But given their drastically different body builds, I am having my doubt that Kaito would truly fit Kokichi's clothes. Or would Kokichi's arms be long enough for Kaito's sleeves?
Wait. Are you suggesting it can't be possible for both of them to have teamed up?
Always think of every possibility, whether it sounds crazy or not. But we will see if that ends up true or not. So, Kaito got hit. Kokichi got hit twice. There is a glass of bottle that says poison. Though, given that it has blood on it, we cannot deny the possibility that it can also be a poison antidote. Somebody went to the lab and looked after poison and antidote. It can either be Himiko at Kaito's request, or it can be Maki. Or both. The fact that the poison bottle that we found in the lab has less poison in it suggests that it was used, either with a crossbow or by drinking it. And if we're talking about antidotes, it may very well be possible that the bottle we found is the antidote to the same poison that we discussed. Or it can be another bottle of poison, but if that were the case, then it makes us question why somebody left antidotes on the table in Shuichi's lab, unless they were looking for one. Alright, well, what else? We have found Kokichi's clothes in the toilet, suggesting that whoever hid it there doesn't want us to find the truth of this case. Similar to the hydraulic press staying down because the cable was cut. And the blood pattern suggests that the body was dragged from the bathroom to the press and got squished, which means that person died before getting squished. Or an electro bomb may have been used to deactivate the sensor on the press, thus having it crushed even a living person. About the control panel and the marks we found on it, evidence suggests that it was done way after the green exasol entered and Kibo left. We do have to keep in mind that without deactivating the alarm system, nobody can go near the panel. So with the marks on the panel, it all suggests that it happened sometime after the exasol left and the alarm system turned off. But why? It can be Maki on first glance, or it can be anyone else. But if it's Maki, why would she do that? To try and make it so that no one enters? Or exits the hangar if she destroys it? Or she tried to enter the hangar again, but couldn't given that the green exasol was inside, and she couldn't control another one. A lot of things to take into account. In the end, does any of this help you understand the situation? A lot of questions that can't really be answered at this point. We need to determine the sequence of events inside the hangar somehow. Because if we don't, then there are 0 chances for us to find out who the culprit is. I mean, When did Kaito get hit with the arrow? When did Kokichi get hit with 2 arrows? Who hit them? Where were they when they got hit? Who hit Kokichi? Who hit Kaito? Are we talking about just one crossbow? Or did Maki bring a crossbow of her own from her lab? Cause if you think about the bottle of poison that we found in Shuichi's lab, it can be that it was used on one of the arrows to poison either Kokichi or Kaito. I mean, if it's Maki, then clearly she would have used it to hit Kokichi, in which case she may have actually succeeded. But if Kaito got hit too, it can be possible that Kokichi put up a fight as well. But the blood in the bathroom suggests that either Kokichi or Kaito got hit with an arrow like right there, instead of where Maki would be, which is like outside the bathroom. Unless she entered the bathroom and all that chaos happened only inside. And about the glass bottle... what a jumbled mess.
A bit difficult, isn't it? You are starting to hit a roadblock again. Can it be that this is all you got?
In the glass bottle, it was empty. If it was an antidote, then it may very well be the one needed for the poison used on arrows. If the poison was used on the arrows. If you would use poison on arrows to kill someone, why would antidote be there at the crime scene? Well, there are 2 possibilities. Either the one that got hit managed to get the antidote, which is either Kokichi or Kaito, or the one that used the poison arrows hit the wrong person and tried to get the antidote so that the person that got hit wouldn't die. But that would imply that Maki hit Kaito? By accident, maybe? In that case, Maki would have to go to the lab and get the antidote and bring it back. That may very well be the reason why we found the marks on the panel, because the barrier was up, and she couldn't enter anymore. And yet, we found the bottle inside the bathroom. If it were—
Time's up!
Time's up? What do you mean time's up?
You do realize that you will have to start a trial soon, right? You cannot sit here and think about it all day.
But...
No buts, I say! I think you have said enough for now, so you'll have to see whether you are right or not. But chances are you will be wrong about a lot of things.
And you have found nothing conclusive over this. You still don't know who died, and who is still alive, and what truly happened inside the hangar. Hell, for all we know, it could have been Kibo who went inside the hangar using the excisal. Nothing conclusive, but at least I managed to get some more possibilities out of it. The way I see it, if we are to think of how the person died, it can be, 1, because of poison, meaning that the person that shot the arrow with poison would be the killer, in which case it would be Maki. Or 2, because of the hydraulic press, in which case it wouldn't be Maki anymore, but it would either be Kaito or Kokichi. The main focus is on Kokichi, Kaito, and Maki. Kibo does seem to be innocent in all this, though we don't know if he actually did anything else that he hasn't told us, in which case he should have by now. Tsumugi... Well, come to think of it, I haven't even mentioned Tsumugi like once throughout this entire discussion. Himiko... I'm gonna go on ahead and say that her case is pretty much covered. Because even after discussing Kaito, Kokichi, and Maki's situation a little bit here, I cannot see any other possibility than the one that I had described earlier, about being asked by Kaito to bring him the crossbow.
Having doubts about her too?
I am pretty confident that what I said will end up being true. I will believe in my deduction. It's just that if we are to think of what happened here with Himiko, it's it's actually pretty sad when I think about it.
Sad that she's probably gonna end up being accused of murder again?
Well, that too. But most importantly, I find it sad that Himiko actually tried to help Kaito, and yet it may very well be possible that he died, and now Himiko must be feeling really bad about it. Not only she feels guilt that her bringing the crossbow may have ended in Kaito's death, but if we are to think about it, this was her one chance to do something to help everyone and survive. The old Himiko wouldn't have done anything, and ever since Tenko's death, she tried her best to live life facing forward and try to survive this whole thing. After the third trial, when we started doing the magic training, she said that she wanted to live for Tenko and Anji's sake, but she doesn't know what to do. This actually tells us that now she's on a mission to do something so that she won't feel useless anymore. And this was it. This was the opportunity that she was waiting for, to be useful by helping Kaito and have everyone survive. And now she'll get accused of murder again. That's sad. Really sad. Granted, I do feel bad for Kaito and the possibility that he may have died, and I do feel bad for Maki, who God knows what she's feeling right now, poor thing. But I do also feel bad for Himiko and what she's going through right now. And I can't say for sure if any of the students, if anybody is gonna think of it this way about her. What?
Are you done?
Alright. I'm done talking about it. I guess it is time for us to start the trial. This is gonna be a whole new level of nightmare, I can tell.